Here's a bit of Floodtide for you. And this scene is from Hanuk's point of view. He's the leader of this tribe. There was a crack from above as Georges crossed the threshold into the main cavern again. Hanuk looked up. A chunk of ice sliced through the air. Light burst against his eyes. Moisture showered him. He stepped back instinctively, staring. The ice was already melting and could no longer support its own weight. Smaller chunks fell as the ice rent above them. The noise was deafening. People screamed and ran in all directions. Hanuk saw Sulkar grip Mananga's wrist, then swing round, searching for her Amarjnu. The volume increased. Someone seemed to be shaking Hanuk apart. It took him moments to realise that his unsteady feet had nothing to do with nervousness or frailty. It's another quake, a bad one. Hanuk focused on his own sleeping niche and unsealed his mind. The niche was empty, but Sajamu told him his brothers were both well. He spotted the precious children running for the cavern mouth with Brach and Kayas. Mananga and Sulkar edged past him towards the tunnel, carrying their belongings. "Go!" he signed, waving them towards the tunnel. "Come with us," Mananga answered. He nodded his answer to her, then looked around. The cavern floor was awash. He headed for the tunnel mouth. It was already choked with people. The cavern floor jerked once, twice. The rock parted. Where the firestone had been, there was much boiling and bubbling of water, and with a sucking noise which made Hanuk jump, it swilled down to form a whirlpool. Water siphoned into its depths. The ground tilted. Hanuk clung to the rock wall. Ahead, a man grabbed his son's arm to pull him back from the brink of the chasm. Hanuk recognised him as he and the boy fled. Nulma, his friend since childhood. "I should have listened to the Hamanu. I should have led everyone from this place before Mananga ever spoke." Hanuk hauled himself along the side of the cavern. He'd almost reached the tunnel mouth when he thought of Naru. He turned back towards the cavern. Confusion was everywhere. Rocks rumbled, ground together and split. The fracture spread. His eyes sought his eldest daughter. There! He breathed out his relief. People streamed past him into the tunnel. He reached towards Naru. The baby was tucked under one arm, screaming. She reached forwards to him. The ground funneled down around her. His last view of her was her agonised face. Her legs were crushed like sticks, and Gilly was ground apart by tortured rocks. Naru disappeared. What's that noise? Even above the din, Hanuk could hear strange sounds nearby. It was several moments before he realised what the noise was. "Naru! Gilly!" he keened. Now he realised why he'd wanted to spend time with them just light times ago. "I knew I'd lose you." So the next scene is from Sulkar's point of view. The tunnel walls shivered under Sulkar's hands. She hardly felt the rock scour her skin. The torrent of people in the tunnel almost engulfed her in their panic. She fought to cling to the rock wall as the tribespeople fled. Ahead, she saw Mananga feeling her way along the tunnel walls after the rest of the tribe. Sulkar was surprised at the eldest woman's agility. "She'll be all right," Sulkar thought, and turned back to Hanuk. He stood nearby, leaning on his spear for support, staring at the cloven cavern floor like one bespelled by the Marj Nagur. Sulkar had to act. She grabbed his wrist and towed him behind her, unresisting. His face glistened with grief and guilt. "It's my fault," he said. "If I'd made the people go, Naru and Gilly would still be alive now." She looked beyond him into the cavern. Nowhere could she see either of her Amarjnu. So this is one of them, and this is from Yado's point of view. There was a sound like tearing membranes as the cavern floor ripped again. Ground lurched and flowed under Yado, sucking him downwards. The light brightened as he clutched at the rock wall. He missed. Half the cavern floor reared up to his left. Fear raised walled fur upright on his skin. His instinct was to shut his eyes. Then he glimpsed Sulkar clinging to the tunnel mouth ahead and felt for the nearest solid object. His hands closed on rock, but it moved, and he recoiled. Jordas grabbed his arm. "She awaits us. Come now!" Yado thrust the fear away and concentrated on reaching the tunnel. The floor slid away without warning into the belly of Kerui. He crawled towards the tunnel, scraping even his tough hands and knees at every movement. Time stood still around him and simultaneously flowed like molten lava. Above, he saw Jordas clinging to an outcrop, working his way around the cavern's edge. His clothes protected his thinner skin, but once Yado felt him bang his knee. Then Jordas heaved himself up and away from the yawning cavern floor, reaching back to pull Yado after him, with a force that almost tore his arm from its socket. Yado scraped his knees over the lip of the chasm, but they staggered to the tunnel mouth, clinging to each other, the last to leave the cavern. Sulkar had waited for them. Somehow she was unharmed and had resisted the tide of people. Hanuk stood beside her, dull-eyed and quiescent. Yado stared after the current of people boiling along the tunnel. "You were safer to go with them." "I couldn't leave you two." "Quick, let's go," Jordas gasped, grabbing their arms. Yado pulled Hanuk after him and they pounded along the tunnel after the tribe. Thank you so much.